Good afternoon, everyone. Isn't this the most amazing and, let's just admit it, weird thing? We're doing things different in the world now, and we are still having an election, and we still think it's very important you get to know your candidates, and the candidates can't go door to door like they normally would, and we can't have our big city club lunch that we normally do to hear these guys debate, our candidates debate. So this is the new. We call this the Lunch-In series, and this will happen at noon for the next 3 Thursdays. Today, 2 more after this, while we try to introduce you to your candidates from the Idaho Falls area. Let me just let you know who all is contributing to this effort. The Idaho Falls City Club, and I'm a member of that, the Greater Idaho Falls Chamber of Commerce, and the Greater Idaho Falls Realtor Association. So my name's Carol Honus, and in addition to being a member of City Club, I am also a television anchor in town. And so they invited me to do this because I have done a million, it seems like, forums along these lines, just never one like this. Let me explain to you our setup. I'm sitting at a podium at one end of the room. We all brought masks in, but we are more than 6 feet apart. So at no time are you going to be able to see a wide shot that'll show where we all are because we're so separated. But I'm in the middle, and then to my left and more than 6 feet away is candidate Kevin Cook. And then to my right, these guys are all on their own individual cameras. To my right is Adam Frugoli. And they, again, all have their own cameras. And so we'll ask them questions today so we can get to know them a little bit. But you're not going to see a 3-shot. You'll just see each individual as they respond. That's the way we're doing it. And our thanks to IE Productions for producing this program for us and helping us out, because this is quite an undertaking. Now, I'm used to talking to a camera as if it's my best friend. These candidates aren't. Not only is Kevin Cook and Adam Frugoli brand new to the political scene, this is their first time to run for office, but certainly their first time to do interviews like this. So I will sometimes turn my head backwards behind me to see how an answer is going. That's never really happened before. And I will look this way to see how Adam's doing, and they're both kind of looking at my back and beyond. It's different. There's no doubt about it. It's real straightforward. These guys will open up with a 3-minute talk about themselves. Just kind of let you know who they are, because we don't know them very well yet. And then we'll ask them questions, and I have 27 questions that have been sent in by people. I probably won't ask them in the order that they're here, but we will, in the next hour, ask these questions and let them answer. They each have a minute to answer, and then they can rebut each other for 30 seconds, and I'll kind of make the call on that. And so, here we go. 3-minute intros, question and answer, 3-minute conclusions, and this is different. So I'm going to flip my own coin and begin on my left with Kevin. And Kevin, we would love it if you would just introduce yourself to the voting public.
Great. I appreciate being here. Thank you. I'm Kevin Cook. I'm a conservative Republican. I'm excited to be in this race. I grew up on a farm where I learned to work hard. My father was a believer that if boys weren't working, they were in trouble. And so we worked hard during the week and just played just as hard on the weekend. And so a lot of our time was spent moving cattle I was on a horse, moving cattle from canyon to canyon, or on the tractor, either cutting, baling, or hauling hay. But on the weekends, my dad believed in playing. And so on the weekends, we would go camping, hiking, hunting, and all various other things that we did. We weren't a family that had lots of money, but we had lots of fun. And so we didn't have the really nice camper or the really nice trailer, but we did have a cattle truck. And so this is a true redneck story, but I would go and scrape off the manure off the sides of the cattle truck and then scoop the manure out of the back and would put 2 fresh bales of straw in that truck and then would drive up the canyon and we would go camping in the back of our cattle truck. It was awesome. Still remember that as some of the greatest camping trips. Anyway, part of that I graduated from a public high school, went on to graduate from Weber State University. It took me about 6 years because I was I was working part-time and going to school part-time. I graduated with a degree in computer science, went into the public sector and worked several years, and then came home one weekend and announced to my family that I had quit my job to follow a lifetime dream of owning and operating my own business, which I did for several years and had a lot of fun, was successful at it. I then later on was hired on by the Idaho National Laboratory, where I'm currently hired, and am enjoying it very much so. I'm a believer in education. I want to give greater educational opportunities for our kids. It is my dream that every Idaho kid can fill an Idaho job, that all Idaho jobs are filled by Idaho kids who are skilled, educated, and trained to do that job. I am a Second Amendment person. I love to shoot guns. I love to hunt. One of our family activities, favorite activities, is to go and to be able to target shoot. We enjoy that. I am grateful for our government, for what they do for us, and I'm grateful for small businesses and how they work with us there. I'm a believer in the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. We will always remember the story about the manure. And now let's turn to Adam Frugoli. Adam, we don't know very much about you. Tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you, Carol. I appreciate the opportunity of being here, and I appreciate all the organizations of putting this together and the time that it's taken. My name is Adam Frugoli, and I'm a proud fourth-generation Idahoan. I was raised by a single mother, and I wasn't always a conservative. I have to tell you, it was out of the government necessity that has made me into a conservative of who I am today. I was born to a single mother, as I said, who was a recovering alcoholic, and unfortunately, when she found out about me, she stopped drinking. My father is a full-blooded Native American out from the Shoshone-Bannock tribes, and he unfortunately didn't overcome his alcohol problem, and later passed away when I was about 10 years old of cirrhosis of the liver. And hence, that's the reason why I look the way I do, is I'm probably going to be the only Native American, Italian bald man you'll ever see before. So I'm a product of capitalism. My mother, most of the time, would have to have 2 to 3 jobs just to make ends meet. I remember spending Christmas when I was 8 years old working at the Common Sense, watching her work. Childcare was always a big issue for us. She didn't have any childcare for us. And I remember spending summer vacations. They weren't spent out going to the pool or anything, and rather they were working at the Holiday Inn, cleaning hotel rooms along the side with my mother. I've been blessed probably more than what I deserve. I'm vice president of one of the largest insurance brokerages in the country. It's important for me to give back to my community, and that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been working on the board of directors for one of Idaho Falls' largest public charter schools for the last 10 years. And in that, it's a passion of mine that all children can succeed. All children can learn. It doesn't matter where you come from or what their background is. Our rich kids, our poor kids learn the same way, and that's what we've been able to prove at our charter school. I'm proud to say that I helped build Idaho Falls' first STEM high school to do exactly that, to make sure that we could fill Idaho jobs. We had a lot of employers that came to us and said, we have high-tech jobs and we'd like you to teach our children what it would take to fill those jobs. We're really great at raising kids in Idaho, but we're also even better at exporting them to places like Dallas and Fort Worth and Los Angeles. And I want to make sure that we keep those kids home and contributing here to what we have here in our Idaho way of life. For the last 5 years, I've been working on the Idaho Falls Board of Commerce for the Chamber of Commerce here and legislating for small businesses. And now I want to legislate as your senator to help make Idaho even more friendlier to do business. You can count on me to protect the rights of the unborn, your Second Amendment rights, the real common sense property reform that we need, and making sure that we can fix Idahoans' broken schools.
Very, very nice. Now let's see if we can break out some questions that will show where you guys differ, because you both have just sparkling, fun personalities and interesting lives. but I would imagine somewhere along the line you might differ a little bit in your opinions, but let's just see. I'm going to start out tough, but let's talk about the issue of the day, which is that stupid coronavirus, which is making all of our lives miserable right now. Just yesterday, the governor decided to go ahead and extend the stay-at-home order for a couple weeks. Adam, while your mic is still hot, you go first. What did you think about the governor's decision?
Well, Carol, I was disappointed. I think that we've all made an incredible amount of sacrifices. I think we need to realize that Bonneville County isn't Ada County. Bonneville County isn't Blaine County. We have about 110,000 individuals here with about 13 to 14 known cases. And, right now, being on the board of directors for the chamber, I probably fielded 15 phone calls of individual business owners that have called me, some of them in tears, that are on the verge of absolutely losing everything. And, we've worked hard to put those individuals in touch with really good bankers. We've helped them refinance buildings in order to keep things going. But we have a lot of people in Bonneville County that are struggling right now. And I think we need to do something a little bit more and exercise personal responsibility. I'm worried about maybe 10% of our businesses may not reopen after this. So it's a big concern of mine. I think the governor's doing the best he can, but I wish we would do it on a county-by-county basis.
Thank you, Adam, and I hope you guys are comfortable with me calling you by your first names instead of your last names. Kevin, your turn. The governor's decision, what do you think?
Okay. The governor, I believe, is getting information daily on what's going on in the state of Idaho from our health officials. I also believe he's getting information from the federal government of what's going on. I also was a little disappointed. I mean, the most excitement I get is to walk outside to the mailbox to pick up mail. I believe our businesses are suffering. I believe that we are going to have a hard time when this is all over. But what I would really like to see is the governor saying, here's some plans, here's what we're going to do at the end of this. Give us some light at the end of the tunnel is what I would like to see. I think, a lot of people, he was concerned about some people up in the north that they were against it. But for the most part, the governor was appreciative. He says, I believe the people are doing the right thing. But we need to continue as a community to help those business owners where we can.
Thank you, Kevin. Your mic's still hot, so I'll give you question 2. And if you two are comfortable with it, that will be the game plan. So sometimes you answer the question first, and sometimes you answer it second. That sound okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds great.
All right, great. Second question. Kevin, to you, do you believe that the Idaho Human Rights Act should be extended to cover discrimination in employment and housing on the basis of sexual orientation?
I believe that I'm a person that is inclusive. I really don't care what your religion is, what your race is, what your sexual orientation is, as long as you're a good person, as long as you're doing the right thing. I do have a problem. I have grandkids. I have sons and daughters. I have a daughter that's a senior in high school. I do have a problem with some young man that says, I feel like a female today, and therefore I'm going to go into the female bathroom or the female locker room. I do not agree with that. I believe that we need to keep those things separate, that we have Idaho family values and we need to stick to those values and not change those. And that's where I'm at. I will not change my values just to win an election or to win a couple of votes. Thank you.
And just to make sure, this will be my own follow-up, if that's okay. As far as, though, housing, you would, and employment, you would then support extending those rights to the LGBTQ community? Those protections?
I believe that I should be able to, if it's my private business, that I should be able to hire the best person for that job, not determined on whether, you need to hire a female or you need to hire a transgender or anything else. I want to hire the best person that qualifies for that job. I'm still not catching it in. I'm sorry.
You're doing fine. I'm just not sure how you would vote if another bill comes in that wants to extend the rights.
That says that I, as a businessman, would have to hire a transgender. Is that what you're asking me?
Well, it could be anything. You know, it could be lesbian, it could be gay.
Right,
You know,
right.
and so in Idaho right now, if anybody wants to fire someone or deny them housing because they don't want a gay person in their apartment, they can do that. They can do that in Idaho. I don't know how often it happens, but they could. So the LGBTQ community would like to extend the protections that they have for employment and housing. So you can get booted out of an apartment or fired from a job based on your sexual orientation. So how might you vote on that? Every year it comes up.
You know, as legislators, we don't vote on concepts. We vote on words. I would want to see a words and how that bill is spelled out before I did that. As a concept, it sounds good, but I want to hear the words of it, the words of the bill.
I will let you go on that one. And Adam, I'll let you pick it up from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody deserves to be treated with dignity, and they deserve to be treated with respect. And I don't think that anybody should be discriminated on the basis of sexual orientation. Just the same reason why I don't believe that anybody should be discriminated on the basis of how many children you have, or what your race is, or what your religion is. I think in the Constitution we're given the pursuit of happiness, and whoever's pursuit of happiness, whatever that means to them, that's their pursuit of happiness. I don't have a problem about going on the record and saying that I would extend those rights to the LGBTQ population. I don't think that anybody should be discriminated on against a basis of sex or any other basis of that. It's something that's just a fundamental thing that we don't do in Idaho, and it's okay to say that.
And so it's taken me this long, and I apologize. Add the words is the phrase that I've been looking for.
Yep.
And so you would agree to add the words?
You know, and I've read it over and over again. It comes up every year. It's a big legislative hot topic, and I just think that it's a matter of just human respect for individuals. It doesn't mean that we have to separate what we believe and what we don't believe in, but it's a matter of just individual respect.
Thank you. Let's go to question number 3. Like the rest of the nation, Idaho is faced with a housing shortage. What measures could the legislature possibly take to make for more affordable housing options? And even should the legislature get involved or just leave it to the free market? Adam, you're up.
Well, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in public housing, and I understand that there is a lot of demand for public housing, affordable housing, and that demand can be filled very easily by private individuals that should be building these, and I think we're starting to see that happening. The USDA has grants available for individuals that want to build low-income housing, and we're starting to see that happening in the county, and I'd like to see more of that happen. I think there becomes a certain degree of what the government should be doing and the whole purpose of government, and I think a lot of that can be done via the private industry of putting that together and making that happen.
Thank you. Kevin?
Well, I'm a conservative, and as a conservative, I like to keep the government out as much as possible. I want the free market. I want that to govern. If there's a need for it, then the free market, and they can build houses and make some money off it, then great, let's do it. I don't believe that we always need to run to the government to solve those issues. I want to limit the government and their oversight and their overreach. That's where I stand.
And don't forget, guys, that at any time if you want to comment or rebut what your opponent is saying, you just have to yell it out, because I can't see you. So
I can't see you either.
I know. So you would have to just say, Carol, may I add to that? So don't hesitate, because that's what we want you to do. Question 4, Kevin. You start this one. How do you feel about raising minimum wage?
I don't think that's a good idea. Again, the free market. Why? If you think of the purpose of the government is to do something for me that I cannot do for myself. Okay? If you look at the free market, capitalism, we hire, and as a employee or an employer, I get those people that best fit my description or need. And if I have to pay more, then that's what I'll do. But if you continue to raise that minimum wage, you're just passing the price on to somebody else. My son-in-law used to live in Seattle, where they made the minimum wage $15. Everything went up. Everything went up. The cost of housing and everything. People were saying, well, I can't make that much money because now I'm going to lose my welfare checks and everything else. No, I disagree. I do not believe in that.
All right, Adam, your turn.
Well, this is where me and my opponent do agree. In Idaho, we have about 3,500 to 4,000 minimum wage jobs in the state of Idaho right now, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Of those jobs, many of them are filled by entry-level individuals, i.e. high school students. And I think if we start taking that minimum wage and ticking that up, it becomes very, very difficult for those individuals to get the jobs and the training that they need to. We're starting to see that happening right now. I'm very familiar with a lot of individuals who own restaurants and fast food restaurants. As labor is becoming more and more difficult to find, we're seeing more and more of these kiosks being set up, and that's actually displacing people, and it takes out the exact issue. It takes those people out of the workforce that were needing that job. You know, my daughter started her first job at Target, and I couldn't believe it. She told me she was getting paid $16 an hour, and she had zero marketable skills. I thought that Target had made a big mistake, but that's what they decided to do, and I think the free economy and the free world will make that happen.
So I get the impression from both of you, and I just want to make sure I've got this right. When I ask very simply how you feel about raising the minimum wage, Adam, no, let the market do it, not
That's
the
right.
legislature. Kevin, let the market do it, not the legislature.
Correct.
Am I
Yes.
correct on that? Both
Yes.
that? All right. Just wanted to make sure I cleared that up. Adam, you're going to go first on this one. Now, Kevin, you already kind of touched on this. This is about that transgender bill and the Sports Act. But I want to hear from you again. But Adam, you start on this one. And here's the question. A few weeks ago, Governor Little signed House Bill 500, known as the Fairness in Women's Sports Act. And the measure says that a dispute about an athlete's gender can only be resolved by examining the student's reproductive anatomy, genetic makeup, or normal endogenously, I'm not even sure what that means, but 19 produced testosterone levels. Would you have voted for this bill? Just to make it simple, would you have voted for the transgender can't play in women's sports bill?
Yes,
You would have voted yes on that.
I would have voted yes on it.
That's quick. Do you want to expound?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I raised two girls, and I know what it takes for them to be at their top competitive games. They go to camps, and they're constantly working on their craft and their skills in order to be better. And I just don't think that having an individual who now identifies as a woman who was a man would make that a fair game. I think it's a matter of protecting women's sports in an essence. It has nothing to do with the individual. It has to deal with what we have. And I know how difficult it is for those girls that are out there trying. And I think that's just really a fundamental thing of where I believe at.
Kevin?
Yes, I also would have voted for that. However, I do, again, believe that we accept people for who they are. If they're nice people, they do good things, we like them. We should love them, and we should accept them. It doesn't mean we need to embrace some of their beliefs. I don't expect you to embrace all of my beliefs. But we need to be nice. We're a community, and we need to grow together. I have a daughter that worked really, really hard in track and become very good at track and her skills. I would be ashamed to think that she got to her high school or senior year and she was racing against a guy. I don't agree with that.
Then may I add my own question to this? You both have daughters that you both sound like you're very proud of. You want them to be able to compete through, Title IX. Kevin, what if your daughter is so good that another parent's daughter who is sitting on the bench says, you know what? I bet she's transgender. She's so good, I bet she is a man before she became a girl. She's got to be examined. How would you feel about that?
I wouldn't like that, no.
That's in the bill.
That's a good point. I think you could go back and look at some medical records and discover all the way to her birth. And do that. I don't think you need to have a strip search on a young lady to determine that. I believe you can go all the way back to her birth certificate and see that.
Would you have stood up for that then in the legislature, that part of the bill? That they have to be, they might have to be examined to determine their sex?
Boy, that's a hard one.
All right.
I do not think it is right for someone to go and physically examine somebody. I've got children. I got grandchildren. I believe they have some rights. I think you should be able to go back and look at their birth certificate and determine that.
And Adam, can I ask you the same thing?
Sure, absolutely. I don't mind standing up for what's wrong. I mean, if that's what's in the actual bill, and I take it, I have not read the actual bill of it. No, I don't think that's right. I think that you have the ability to review a birth certificate, and that birth certificate now is protected. You can't be changing your birth certificate now, as I recall, and that should be good enough. I don't believe that we need to make people go through that type of a process. I have no problem with saying that.
And because I don't have the bill in front of me, and I could be very wrong, but the way this question is worded, it says, the measure says that a dispute about an athlete's gender can only be resolved by examining the student's reproductive anatomy.
I believe you are correct. I have read that part of it, and I believe you are absolutely correct in what it says there.
And you don't support that?
I guess I don't support that, yes. I would not stand by and have my daughters physically examined to determine whether they're a young man or a young woman.
Might you go back, should you be elected to the legislature, and change the bill?
That's a good question. I would have to look at it.
Adam?
Yeah, let's do it. If it's wrong, let's fix it. I've made a lot of policies sitting on a school board, being the chairman of a school, where we've made policies and there's some unintended outcomes that we didn't think. And we would go back as a board and we say, you know what? We didn't think that went all the way through. Let's go ahead and fix it. If it's a problem, let's fix it.
And then, Adam, as you brought it up, the birth certificate, how would you have voted on that bill? Is it okay or not okay for a transgender to change their birth certificate to reflect their identity?
Listen, I identify as a 120-pound individual, but my driver's license says that I weigh 240 pounds, unfortunately. And as much as I've advocated to have that changed, the state of Idaho won't allow me to do that. It is a physical nature of myself that I weigh 240 pounds. And you probably see it on the camera right now. And that's just the way it is. I mean, we are what we are. And if you want to be a transgender, I think you should do you. I don't have a problem with that, and you'll never see me judge that. But we do have a certain standard that we have to keep, and it's part of the state records that gender is recorded, and I believe gender is essential.
And Kevin?
I'll agree there. It's what you were born with. It's what God gave you, and I believe that's what is on your birth certificate, and I believe it needs to stick there. However, again, I do believe that we need to be nice to all individuals and to accept them. We don't need to be mean.
All right, thank you.
Carol, I'd just like to make a quick
Sure.
rebuttal here. I weigh 235 pounds as of this morning. I just wanted to make that disclosed.
You're rebutting your own statement?
Yes, ma'am.
That's fair. I lie on my driver's license, so hey, that's okay. Let's get completely out of that venue and go to something else here. In 2012, it was quite a while ago, the American Society of Civil Engineers report card gave Idaho's infrastructure a C-. Today, Idaho is the fastest growing state in the union. How is it that our infrastructure that is already lagging behind going to keep up with this growth? Kevin, I think you start this one.
Okay. Great question. I'm not sure, to be quite honest with you. I don't have answers to all of the questions, but I'm certainly willing to learn and to listen and to grow from the experiences. However, I don't believe in raising taxes, raising gas taxes, even though the gas is low. I don't believe in raising those taxes in order to go do that. I believe we need to figure it out, tighten our belts, scrimp and save wherever we can to fix that infrastructure. The infrastructure is needed. It's needed for our farmers to be able to get their crops to market. It's needed for our technology and everything else that we have for food and supplies to come in. But I especially right now, I believe that we're at a time where we cannot afford higher taxes. You've got businesses that are hurting that have been shut down for 2 and 3 weeks. And so I don't know, but no new taxes.
Adam?
And this is something that I'm concerned about. I don't believe that. Let's break this down a little bit. I'm representing the citizens of District 30 in Bonneville County. I'm not representing the entire state of Idaho here. I don't believe that in District 30 or in Bonneville County that we are getting our fair share of appropriation that's happening. I think we're very, very well represented on the education front. We've got a lot of representation on that. However, there are many other areas in the state that are getting more infrastructure updates than we are. If you go down to Bannock County, you can't go anywhere without their building a new on-ramp or a new bridge somewhere. And yet I'll drive out on I-15 and traffic will be backed off of the Broadway exit here. And it's only going to get worse. And so it becomes the point in time where we need to figure out where this is being appropriated at. A lot of those resources are going to Ada County, and I think that we need to start making sure that our voices are being heard here in Bonneville County. We do have a failing infrastructure problem, and we need to get it addressed, but there's not a reason to do it by taxes. We have the infrastructure and the money to do it now.
Next question, Adam. I'll start it with you. Idaho's unemployment rate, as we all know, has dramatically changed over the last few weeks. Let's say you are elected and you're in the legislature next year. What are you going to do to jumpstart the economy? What ideas do you have?
That's a great question. It's something that it keeps me up at night. We have unemployment claims that are currently skyrocketing right now, and as I said, businesses are struggling, and we may lose 10% of our businesses here in Idaho Falls. We've got to make sure that we are making Idaho as friendly as possible to keep these businesses going. I was speaking to one business that it takes 180 days for a sales tax audit to go through. And if you rebuke that sales tax, they gives the state another 180 days to file a response. In the meantime, interest and penalties are accruing. I don't think that's fair. It shouldn't take 180 days to refute one item of a sales tax. We need to make Idaho a very friendly business to do that, and there's a lot of ways that we can do that by incentivizing businesses to hire locally.
And just my own follow-up, in particular, Adam, and Kevin, I'll have you answer the same thing. In particular, this crisis that we're in right now, you're not a legislator yet. You may be, but we do have our elected officials. What would you go say to Wendy Horman or Barbara Ehart or whoever? What would you go say, here's what I recommend? Okay, we're shut down for another 2 weeks, and then here's what I think we ought to do to get the economy going again in Idaho. Do you have an idea on that yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just had these same conversations with our lieutenant governor yesterday, and it's a matter that we need to get people back to work. We need to illustrate personal responsibility. We need to be taking those guidelines and wearing masks and washing our hands, but more or less, we need to get people into work. And I don't like the fact that we have big businesses being trampled over by little businesses. I've got a pet parlor that my dog goes to that we can't get her in to get groomed, but yet Petco, their dog groomers are still working. They're considered essential. But my small guy that's sitting there on Lincoln Boulevard, he can't open up. That's not fair.
I know I can't get a haircut. Maybe I should go to Petco. Talk to the girls there. They might be able to help me. Kevin, what do you think?
To jumpstart during where we're at now, again, I've talked to a lot of business owners that we've talked to about some of the things that they're facing right now. That I know one particular one where, for, 20 years he's had support and he's paid all of his bills, but all of a sudden the financial guy, the bank says, no more, we won't support you. Well, because you won't be able to make the money during this coronavirus, or the shutdowns. So,
you want to share the name of the bank?
No.
No. Thought I'd ask.
I don't think that would win a vote. But, in Idaho, Idaho is one of the friendliest states for small business. We need to keep it that way. Governor Little dropped a bunch of regulations when he came in. He fulfilled some of his promises. I think we need to continue to do that. Get rid of regulations and help these small businesses get back to work. Given everywhere that we can, and as a community, we help one another to do it.
All right, Kevin.
I'd like to just say
sure.
one thing too, Carol. Is we keep hearing this term that we're the least regulated. If we really dive into those books, what we've done is we've combined regulations. A lot of those regulations are still there, but they've just been combined. And we've just taken out paper and we've just added them to other things. And so there's a lot more work that needs to be done on the regulation. We can't keep using that as a tagline that we're the least regulated, because frankly, we're not.
Well, and if I may
Kevin.
say something on that, we were voted as one of the most friendly states in the nation, and that was not our state voting that. That was across the nation. And so there's some truth to where we're at. We are a friendly state for small business. Could we get better? Absolutely. I think one of the biggest problems we have, as I've talked with business owners, is our property tax is not very friendly, and it causes problems for our businesses right now and needs to be looked at.
Guys, good. You feel good on that one? You're done? Finished? Okay. Question 8, Kevin. On a traditional grading system of A through F, what grade would you give to the past legislative session for addressing important issues in the state of Idaho? Kevin, you first.
I'd probably give them a B. I think they did a great job. If all you do is listen to the radio and newspaper and TV, got to put the TV in there for Carol.
You don't have to.
But if all you do is listen to that, you think, man, they don't do anything good back there. They don't do anything. And I had the opportunity to spend 3 days back in Boise, and those guys work hard. They work hard to make things happen. And I think the important thing is they get back to our constituents and find out, make sure they're working at the right level, though, for us. Carol, I just went brain dead. Can you repeat the question?
I absolutely can. What grade would you give, which you answered a B?
Okay.
And that's good. That's your answer.
Okay.
All right.
I would give them a B. I think they've done some great jobs. I think one of the things that they wish they would have covered was property tax.
Property tax. All right. How about you, Adam? A through F.
Yeah, this is easy for me. I give them a D-. I think that this legislative session was a complete waste of time, and I have no problem about looking the voters of the state of Idaho and telling them that. They were supposed to go and do several things. One of them, we've had an educational task force that we've spent years working on this. Not a word discussed about it. We had many proposals on property tax. Nothing happened. I give a lot of props to Representative Moyle, who stuck his neck out there to try to make it happen. We spent much of that time working on rules and regulative administration, and we only spent the last part of it actually working on the laws. And then we got a little bit shortchanged here because of the coronavirus, that we had to shut things down a lot earlier. And because of that, we had a couple bills that were vetoed, that they went home early. And I understand the abundance of caution and all that, but there were some important bills that got vetoed. Had they had stayed and done the work that the voters had put them to, they could have overridden those vetoes very quickly.
Could I
Yes,
add
you
something?
can.
I think that one thing that maybe Adam missed is that they've added another rung to our teachers. I am passionate about education. I think education is moving forward over so slowly, but we're rolling in the right direction. And I do believe that they made some headway on education this session, and I'm grateful for that.
I'd like to respond to that. Mm-hmm. What they did is they funded the fifth rung of the career ladder. That wasn't invented in the legislative session. That was nearly funded. They just allocated for that. That's not a huge win. It's already been there. Congratulations on putting the money to where we already said that we wanted it to go. That doesn't get you any better grades on that. I don't doubt that they weren't working hard. I spent the same 3 days there too. What I want to see some real results happening there. And this time we just didn't see it. Everybody's worried about the election and worried about what they want to be portrayed at, and we didn't get the work done that we needed to do it.
Good aid.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but it might not mean anything to you, But I'll guarantee you it meant a lot to the teachers. The teachers are ones that are putting in the hours.
I've
that are
hired a
working
lot
with
of
our
teachers,
kids.
Kevin. I
It's
know
those
what
teachers
teachers
that are working hard for us and helping them. I think that was pretty important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it absolutely is important. And I've hired a lot of teachers, and I'm proud to say that I gave teachers pay raises when the state was furloughing them and taking money back. Listen, my teachers made on average about $42,000 to $47,000 a year. I understand what the career ladder means, but that's not that's not a win of this legislative year. That's happened from prior years. They just merely funded it, and I appreciate them doing that as well because it's important.
We feel good on that one?
Yes.
Let's talk guns. I can't remember since we bounced back and forth who gets to go first.
I'll let Kevin do it.
Kevin?
Okay.
Is it you? All right. Here's the question. Do you believe there is a constitutional regulation on the possession or use of firearms that is beneficial to society? If so, what is it and why? If not, please explain.
A regulation in a way that they limit?
I don't know. I'm just reading the question.
All right.
So we can change the question to something that we
Well-
like, but this is the way I understand. Do you think there's a constitutional right on the possession or use of firearms that's beneficial to society?
Yes, absolutely, I do. I have never seen a firearm kill somebody. It's the person that's doing that. We have a constitutional right to own and bear firearms, and I support that 100%. I am a gun owner. I am a member of the NRA. I love to go shoot guns with my family. Yes, I believe that is important for every American. Now, that we keep that Second Amendment, and I promise you that I will do everything I can to defend that so that we can keep our Second Amendment right, that nobody infringes upon that.
Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Second Amendment completely. I believe in the right to being able to bear arms. I do not believe in red flag laws. We've seen what happened is in Virginia and how quickly that happened. And you know what? Frankly, I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, my opponent clearly says that he's in favor of the Second Amendment, but yet he failed to turn in his Second Amendment Alliance survey that asks those basic same questions. Are you against red flag laws? Do you endorse the Second Amendment? What will you do to regulate those gun laws? He didn't turn it in. It says refuse to answer. I turned him in. I don't have anything to hide on that. I'd like to ask my opponent why he chose not to turn in that important survey that is represented by one of the largest grassroots Idaho organizations on the Second Amendment.
Can I ask just real quick, will you explain red flag? A red flag law is, Adam.
Yeah, red flag law is basically just giving the jurisdiction to the government to come and take your guns in the basic sense of the form. For example, in LA County, if the sheriff believes that you aren't mentally stable enough to own a firearm, he can come in and take that gun without any hearings or anything else, and then it's on you, on the burden, to go out and try to defend yourself to get your gun back.
And you don't like that?
I don't think that we should be doing that. I think that's a slippery slope that we can't afford to have happen.
Will you respond first, Kevin, to what Adam said on red flag laws?
Yes.
And then you can talk about why you didn't answer the survey.
Okay. So on the red flag law, if I want to say, you know what, my neighbor's crazy, go take his guns, that would absolutely give the sheriff or whoever to go into his home and to take those. He would have no right whatsoever in court. They would take the guns afterwards. He might have a day in court to go and plead his case, but there's no guarantee of that. And so, no, I'm against red flag laws. I really am. I didn't see the need. Idaho Constitution gives us more right than the United States Constitution as far as gun laws. Idaho State Constitution talks about having the rights not only to have guns, but to have ammunition. I am pro Second Amendment, and that's where I'm at.
And that's why you didn't fill out the survey.
Yeah, I didn't see the need.
Okay. Any rebuttal on either one of those? You
I mean, I
say?
guess you didn't see the need. I mean, it's the largest grassroots organization in the state of Idaho that has thousands of members. And if you didn't see the need to defend yourself on the Second Amendment Alliance, I mean, it makes me really wonder, I mean, are you really strong on Second Amendment? If you can't even fill out the survey, I mean, it took 30 seconds and it was in the mail. It's very easy. It was yes or no. And you didn't. You chose not to do it.
No, it was more than yes or no, if I remember right, Adam. But again, here we are spending time on a red flag law that is not an issue in Idaho. It's an issue in other states. In Idaho, we have a stronger constitution on gun laws than the United States Constitution states. You were upset about the legislators spending time on things that were not an issue. Here we are talking about a red flag law that is not an issue in Idaho. We have a Idaho state constitution that preserves the right to own guns and to own ammunition. I want to focus on other issues that people care about here in Idaho.
I'm sure you do want to focus on those other issues, but I'll tell you what, the people in the state of Virginia had that same constitution, and right now they're seeing their rights being trampled on. Legislation can override the Constitution in many cases.
Adam, do you know what their Constitution said?
It's very close to what ours says.
Close?
Yeah, it's
Guys,
close.
since we don't have a copy of the Constitution, we'll never get anywhere with this one. So we'll all go home and read the Virginia Constitution. But our time is nearly up. And so what I'd like to do now is go to the 3-minute conclusions. You each get to, wrap up what you want to say, and that will probably take the remainder of the time, and that will wind up our Lunch-In series. I think you both have done a fabulous job in a very unique situation, and I'm proud of you, for running for office, because it takes guts just to do that, and it takes guts to be the first to do this. So let me just say thank you to you both. Now, we started with, when we opened, Adam, were you the very first to give your background?
Boy, it seems like a year ago. I don't even remember.
I totally get that. I think it was, but if you're okay, Kevin, do you mind giving your 3 minutes?
Sure.
All right.
That may be fine.
And then we'll have
That'll be
Adam,
fine.
and you've watched your timers, and can you see the cards okay?
The problem with the cards is they're colored.
You can't see the color very well?
I'm a little colorblind.
Oh,
so
are you really?
I can't tell the difference.
I'll wrap you up if you need
That's
it.
okay.
Okay.
Well-
The first one you see, whatever color it is, the first time you see
All right.
a flag go up, 15 seconds.
Sounds great.
Okay, how's that?
Well, as a 16-year-old, I started my first job at McDonald's. I learned a lot of information and attributes and things that improved my life. But one of the things that they stressed at McDonald's was to make sure that you give exceptional customer service. I have took that concept of service with me throughout my whole life in different aspects of my career. As a software developer, I have went and watched my customers, what they do. I ask questions, and then I listen to what they say. And then I take that information back to my desk, and there I began to put together, take their manual process and turn it into an automated process. And then I check back with them over and over again to make sure what I'm building is what they want, that it matches up. And then to be able to finally give this final product is pretty exciting to see them as a professional, as a skilled person, to say, look how much more efficient I am, how much more valuable I am to my employer. I tell you that because I believe that a legislator and a software developer, there's a lot of similarities between that. As a legislator, you need to know how to watch your constituents. You need to be able to ask the right questions. You need to be able to listen. You need to have good solving skills to be able to solve those issues. And then when you get back to Boise, you need to be able to check back with your constituents to know where they stand. Make sure that your issues that you're chasing are the same issues that they have here in Bonneville County. And make sure that your resolutions, the way you're resolving those issues, match their expectations. Those things are very important. The other thing about service is I work at the INL currently. I get every other Friday off. I spend my Friday time I go into the middle schools. And there I go in and with 2 or 4 kids, I sit down and I help them improve their reading skills and to sound out words and ask questions and make sure they're comprehending what they read. And that is pretty awesome experience. This past week, I had the opportunity to discuss with a young man that I helped 4 years ago that was struggling with reading. And here's the really cool thing is he informed me that he is graduating from high school, that he's stuck with it. I'm excited about that. I believe in education. I believe that is our future. I believe that we need to do everything we can to help these kids, to give them an opportunity, a reason to stay in school, to teach them trades and skills, and those who want to help them get ready for college life. We have an awesome community college that is filling some of those gaps that is helping us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'd ask you for your vote and your support.
Adam?
Well, thank you very much. And again, I appreciate the time to be here and take this time with you all. And I wish that I could be out here beating on your door, as I'm sure that my opponent does. This election has changed over the last four weeks now, and the problems that we thought that we were facing are no longer as pressing as the ones that we are now facing. And the economy of the state of Idaho is going to be in some serious issues here, that you're going to need someone that is going to have some common sense business reform, that is going to be able to go out there and advocate for our businesses and for jobs in eastern Idaho. Yes, I've spent the last 10 years building one of the most successful charter schools in the state of Idaho. I've hired some of the best teachers. I know what it's like to build things. I know what it's like to improve things, and most importantly, I know what it's like to hire the right people and ask the right questions. I filled out every survey. It doesn't matter if I agree with them politically or not. I just believe that 9 times out of 10 we have a lot more in common than we don't. And so it's important for us to come together as a community. And it's important for us to discuss our differences and come up with a common sense solution that we can make real change happen. I know what it's like to work hard. I know what it's like to go without food, and I can relate to those individuals. And we can sit there and we can tout about being conservative or anything else, but I'm a product of capitalism, and I owe everything that I have for the ability to being able to live in this state, and for the individuals that I've known that have helped mentor me. And I would just ask for your vote. This election means a lot. This election is going to determine the course of the state of Idaho for the next 2 years. If you're looking for the same, and if you're looking for everything that has happened, that you want it to be the same, then I'm probably not going to be the person that you want to vote for. If you're looking for someone that is going to bring unique and new challenging ideas, that's going to challenge the status quo and break up some of the groupthink that's happening in Boise, I'm the person for you. I've got a proven track record, and I know that I can do a great job for you. And I really appreciate your time today, and I think that's probably about the most that I can do in a closing statement today.
Thank you both. You've done just an excellent job in an odd situation. So everybody, go ahead and get your absentee ballot. That's how we have to vote this year. I mean, everything's different. The debates are different, and you're not going to go to the polls. You're not going to go to the junior high this year and vote. You have to vote absentee. So get online and get your ballot all set up and sent to you, and or vote online. And if for the next 2 weeks at least, stay home. I'll see you next Thursday, unless I get fired, depending on the job I did today. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks from City Club, the Realtors, and the Chamber of Commerce.